Welcome to Glazed Over, a podcast for contemporary ceramic studios. We're your hosts, Jessica Cowan
and Vanessa Steele. You're invited to join us in a creative conversation about life in the arts and entertainment industry. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Glazed Over. Today, I am talking with Ben Clark of Queen City Clay, located in Cincinnati, Ohio. Ben's going to give us his insight on bringing the PYOP industry or the studio into his clay studio. They brought in PYOP into Queen City Clay about 9 years ago, and it's going really great. And he has some wonderful insight of, the steps he took to get the studio part open and also how he trains his staff. It's a really great interview. And, Ben's such a great person to chat with, and he has some really great insight on just our community as a whole at the very end. So I hope you listen to the whole podcast, but I especially hope you listen to the end because Ben is really great about saying what we all feel about what we do. Thanks and enjoy this interview.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
Hey everyone, Des Toll here from Bisque Imports, and we've got good news for your kiln room. New kiln core stilts are here. They're strong, precision built, and made to deliver clean results every time. If you're glazing and firing, these are a must-have.
Running a fine art studio is creative, rewarding, and a lot of work. That's why studio owners worldwide turn to the Contemporary Ceramic Studio Association. As a CCSA member, you get industry education, marketing tools, supplier discounts, and real data to help you grow smarter. Plus, you'll connect with a supportive community of studio owners and get listed in our online studio locator, so customers can find you. Ready to strengthen your studio? Join today at ccsaonline.com.
Hi, how are you, Ben? This is Ben Clark from Queen City Clay.
Yes, I'm doing good. How are you doing over there?
I'm fantastic. I think it's a little warmer on my end of the earth than yours right now.
That's true. That's true. I'm ready for the sun again, but it's not quite here yet.
It'll come. It's coming. Hey, tell me a little bit about Queen City Clay, just so our listeners can hear. I was lucky enough to come with Mako for Pottery Camp, and I felt like I was in clay heaven. It was lovely, lovely, lovely. And I always said, and they have dogs. So not only was it amazing people, amazing clay, but they had dogs. So tell me a little bit about your big old space. It's not a little space, it's a big space.
Yeah, so it's a 50,000 square foot studio. And we've got a really unique business model because it's like, 6 businesses in one. We have a massive education department, which has about 76 potter's wheels and a bunch of hand building stations. And we have a slip casting business. We rent space to local artists. We do national and international workshops. We have artist in resident programs and co-op programs, a large retail space where we sell to the local potters and hobbyists, as well as to all the local schools to get their supplies out. And then we rent space for event style things like Procter and Gamble will, sign up to do their day out of the office, with one of their divisions. And so they'll have their meetings and then just for fun, they go back and throw on the wheel or hand build afterward. And then we have mobile units that go out and teach in the city. And so in a slip casting business that now creates urns for a whole lot of different companies that we brought on, I guess 6 years ago now. So all of that's happening at the same time. And the kids program down in the basement is flourishing.
Oh, it's magical down there. It's so great. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just a lot going on at all times, but it was designed so that kind of no matter who you were, if you showed up, you could get a positive experience with clay.
I love that. All inclusive. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great space. All right, so we're talking today about bringing PYOP, so Paint Your Own Pottery, into clay studios. A lot of PYOP studios bring clay in, but you kind of have a little spin on it. You have a clay studio, a massive clay studio, and you've brought PYOP in. How long ago did you bring the painted pottery in?
We've been in this building that we bought since 2020. And before that, our previous building was about half the size, but we still had Paint Your Own space. I would guess that it's been operating for about 9 years now. And it was one of those additions where we just noticed a need. There are people who stop in from the community who have no idea what throwing on the potter's wheel is, have
Sure.
no idea that building from scratch is an option, but pottery painting is accessible, and they've heard about it and they've seen it. And so we wanted to add that to bring in more people and create kind of a gateway for the make it from scratch side of the studio. And it's been so good at doing that.
Yeah, I love how your space, it's behind your retail space, right? So when you come in, maybe if you come to shop, you see the retail space and then you go past the paint your own pottery space.
You got it. Yeah. And what we've noticed is we started it simply because of those questions, so many questions. Do you guys have this set
Mhm.
up? And once we got it set up, we realized how many ways we can use that space, and so we've been able to do all kinds of different events down there. And those corporate events we talked about were such a good play down there, but the kids' birthday parties and everything else. And
Sure.
as many times as we can after they've done the pottery painting, we will give them a tour of the space. And a
Nice.
lot of those people have now learned to throw on the wheel or hand build. And so it truly is. I think that that's just the beginning. I think that a lot of those people can start with the paint your own and end up even thinking about like, oh, I guess I could build my own deck off of my house instead of pay
Oh,
someone to
wow.
do it. Like you just start to get that I could do
Hands on.
anything type feel. Yeah, yeah, which I
Yes,
love.
yes,
And I think
absolutely.
that's a good thing for the studio. Um, our theme here is that we want you, it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter where you are fiscally. We want you to be
Mhm.
able to walk in and do something with clay. And a lot of there are jokes about why would you buy a bowl if you could spend $20,000 to learn to make one yourself type thing,
Exactly.
because it does get expensive, but the pottery painting side is always accessible and affordable. There's
Mhm.
always something in there for any pocketbook. And I think that's hugely important too.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. And is your PYOP areas, it's mainly low fire, right? Are you doing O6 firings for that part of your studio?
Yeah, so all of that is low fire right now, and we do special events with Cone Six, but right now
Okay.
it's specifically low fire for all of our walk-in customers.
And do you have a dedicated kiln for that area of your business, or does it just go back to where all the kiln room area that you have?
No, we've got 3 dedicated kilns back there to use just
Nice.
for that, and they are filled all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of unbelievable how much work goes through those things. And so we decided to keep that separate simply because of the low temp, high temp worries that you have to think about, and I like keeping that also separate because I think getting the pots back to the customers in a timely fashion, it just makes sense.
sure, sure. So you're talking about sometimes people come into the PYOP side and they didn't, really aren't aware of the clay part or haven't done the clay part. Have you had many crossovers of people in your clay studio? They're like, hey, what's going on over there? I want to come paint some pottery. Have you had that reverse crossover?
Oh yeah, and what's funny is in the main studio, so we teach dipping with our glazes, right? Kind of the 1960s, 70s pottery style. We have a lot of bucket glazes in there because a lot of the teachers came from where we were doing production pottery back in the day,
Sure.
and so it works really well, except for the fact that these are oxide based glazes, and you don't know what's going to happen except for testing, right? And that
Right.
pottery painting side where you can see so much better what the piece is going to look like after the firing, you get a better idea. I think people get a little discouraged if the dip glazing is not their thing, and then they get a
Sure.
little glimpse of that. Oh my gosh, I could use my
Yeah.
painterly skills and make something amazing that way, and then they are hooked. And then we
Yeah,
don't see
I
them in
agree
the
with
main
you.
glaze room a lot after that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I always say there's a giant pie and you make this amazing pot and you trim it and you get it dried and it survives the bisque fire and then you throw some glaze on there and you're like, oh, wah, wah, it's not really what I wanted. But
Yep.
PYOP is pretty much, you put it where it stays. It's a stable environment for glaze and it's fun to see. People could do really detailed pieces.
Well, and a lot of people
Glaze.
have had a painting experience, and so they understand with oils or acrylics and everything that being able to
Hmm.
blend and get those cross colors. And when you have the stroking coats or whatever you're using in the pottery painting studio, that makes sense to them right away.
Right,
Learning
right.
how oxides mix and what random colors are going to come out of that at different percentages is just a
Hmm.
different level, and it's hard to
Sure.
learn and it's hard to remember. So that setup makes a lot of people happy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, agree. Let's talk about staffing. So you had your clay studio staffing, and do you have separate staffing for just the PYOP side, or is that people just kind of work any different areas? Retail,
So
PYOP.
yeah, so our retail staff is like the point of contact. And so all phone calls and scheduling and all of that just goes through the retail desk, and they do that as well with all the special events that happen in our main studio. But I have a dedicated person that does all firings, prep of that room, and sets everything up the way it's supposed to be set up. Like, she runs that space. And then my special events coordinator, who runs the entire facility, is the one who actually does the scheduling for parties and specific events. And so that crew runs the room day to day, but then we pull teachers from everywhere we can.
Right.
We're generally getting upwards of about 600 people through the building in a week, and through pottery painting field trips and parties, and then those corporate events. The scheduling master has to see what is going on in the entire building all at the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
time.
it's so huge. It's massive.
Yes. And so that's where we have not been able to separate, because it makes sense for her to be able to suggest pottery painting every time someone comes in to look for a party. And
Sure.
so that's the way we've got it set up. So really a lot of shared staff and one dedicated person for the space that deals with all firings.
Smart, smart. You said you do birthday parties. Do they have they pick out whatever they want, or do you have like a package for the PYOP side?
So we
Whatever
do
you,
we do both. There are
okay.
some people who just want us to isolate a price range and let the kids
Hmm.
pick what they want, or the adults pick what they want. There's others that want to go through a specific plan, and using resist patterns, like using a peacock feather for resist, and having those kids that are 6 to 10 layer in a way that's a little bit more complicated, so where we can take
Hmm.
them step by step. It They like it, but also the product is phenomenal when it comes out of the
Sure.
kiln. And the parents freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, my kid did this, and that's really exciting. So we like to push those staged events, but there are a lot of people who just want the kids to run wild, or the adults to be able to pick whatever they want,
Just relax.
and go
Sure.
that way. Yeah.
And I know you have your kids, your downstairs is the kids level. For anybody who's never been to Queen City Clay, you need to book a flight today, because if you are loving clay, I'm telling you, I was there for a couple of days and I came back and just walked around it for a couple of days. But the downstairs has like your kids area, and it's so kid friendly.
Hmm.
There's kids wheels. It's just such a great environment. There's lots of cool stuff hanging from the ceiling and samples. Do those kids also do PYOP, or is that primarily clay down there?
No, we do PYOP down there as well. That room currently has wheel throwing, hand building, sculpture, comic book making,
Oh,
painting,
wow.
drawing, stop animation, Lego movie work.
All
We
right, I
have
need to go
chomp
back.
saws down there, right? And so the
I need to
kids
go
can
back.
cut
Yep.
cardboard into all the different areas. And
Cool.
pottery painting is an integral part of doing that, as far as
Hmm.
introducing them to glazing. When they're
Hmm.
hand building their piece from scratch, you've got rough surfaces and everything to deal with. And being able to picture how that glaze is going to take on that leather hard clay or dry clay is a little bit different. And so we like to start them with painted pottery, and they get a much better idea of how the process goes on a smoother surface and a more precise surface, and then they go
Hmm.
to the handmade creations.
Right. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, your kids area is amazing. Just super fun to be a kid in Cincinnati. As
Yeah,
far as
Jess,
glaze,
who runs that, the cool thing with her is that every class that happens down there, those kids take part in changing that room somehow, right?
that's
And
cool.
so they might add to the giant trees growing along the ceiling and everything, or they might paint a mural on one of the walls or paint one of the posts. And
I
so
love that.
all of them feel a nice connection to that room down there.
I love that. That's what, and it shows. It's really magical down there. It's a fun space.
Yeah, I like
Upstairs
it
is
too.
fun too. It's very organized. Everything kind of has a place upstairs, and you go downstairs, just like, oh, this is like Wonderland. It's so lovely.
Fun
It's
land. Yeah.
yes, yeah, it's really nice. Let's talk about glazes. So you obviously have dipping glazes up in your clay area. Do you make the glazes for low fire, or those are commercially bought?
So all the low fire are commercially bought. We
Hmm.
rep for Mako and Amico and a lot of
Hmm.
different companies. And the Mako stroke and coats so far have been so flexible and so forgiving that
Hmm.
we've stuck with those as far as the getting great surfaces every time, no matter who's applying. And so that's been something that's been kind of steadfast in the contemporary studio. We are starting to add jungle gyms and some of the other fun,
Okay.
crystal tech glazes and things like that
Hmm.
to the mix. Yeah, so far stroke and coats have been the staple.
How about underglazes? Are you allowed to use underglazes in the pottery area, paint your own pottery area?
We have not added underglazes unless it's
Okay.
a specific party where they're requesting
Okay.
something like that. And so the underglazes, I think mainly because there have been several underglazes, the expense gets kind of crazy. When you look at the
Sure.
cost
Hmm.
of orange and reds and things like that,
Hmm.
which is a hugely popular spread of colors. And
Yes.
so we've tried to keep the cost lower and predictable
Okay.
with the stroke and coats, but there are plenty of events where we realize that underglazes have to be the theme just because of how they work.
Hey, podcast friends, let's talk about firing your bisque with confidence. Kiln core stilts are built for strength and stability with a solid refractory base that keeps your work secure. Each stilt features precision cut metal pins with sharp pencil point tips, designed to leave the smallest, cleanest marks possible after firing. Kiln core stilts provide dependable support so your glazed pieces don't stick to the shelf. Rated up to cone 10, they're a dependable choice for everything from low fire glazing to high fire production work, giving you confidence every time you load the kiln.
Are you spending hours managing studio bookings and class registrations? Occasion helps ceramic studios save an average of 3 days a week in admin time. With clever workflows, instant confirmations, and seamless class management, you can focus on what matters, creating amazing experiences for your customers. Join successful studios like Clay Cafe Avalon, who've trusted Occasion since 2016. Visit occasion.app and schedule a demo today. Mention Glazed Over Podcast for personalized setup support.
And then let's go back to the PYOP side. So, the energy in your clay area, it's a lot of members. You have a lot of members. When I was there was mostly members. There was a few visitors or classes going on. But I felt like when you walked into the PYOP, and it was busy. It was busy both days. The energy level is different. Can you kind of explain that, what you feel is different in those two spaces?
Yeah, so when you look at our main studio, a lot of the people in there are coming in every single day. They get there at 9:30, they stay all through the day, they eat lunch together, right? It's a crew. And then as the afternoon or night classes come in, the noise level goes up, the energy level goes up, and it's kind of a different feel. But in the pottery painting studio, I always equate it to train travel. I don't know if you've been on a long train trip, but it's different from air travel. Air travel, people want to get to where they're going. And on the train, you're there for a while and
All
it's
day.
slower. So people are talking to each other and what are you coming in for today? And the pottery painting studio feels very much like that, where you
Yeah.
might be sitting with someone you don't know and their kids are trying something and they always peek over and like, oh, that's so great, that looks so cool, oh, thank you so much. Now you've got friends that you didn't have before and you're talking back and forth, and the retail staff tries to spark that at all
Hmm.
times.
Hmm.
And so they might figure out why you're in there and what's going on, and they might say, oh yeah, Carolyn over there is in for the same thing. And
Yeah.
I love that energy of just meeting new people, trying new things. But the constant, I think, is that as people come into a studio, whether it's a contemporary studio or the made from scratch one upstairs, there's a fear that goes along with trying something artistic. Uh,
Hmm.
they feel like they're going to look stupid. They feel like they're going to fail, or I don't have an artistic bone in my body. How many times have we heard that?
Hmm.
And I think having the retail staff there and some of our teaching staff there in order to break down that fear, say, no, This is just play. You're going to surprise yourself. And here's how to do some basic layouts that you're going to enjoy. And as soon as you start to build up that confidence, it is a
Mhm.
whole new ball game down there,
Sure,
And
sure.
so I really like seeing that. I think that's one of my favorite things, whether it's in the pottery painting studio where they get that piece back and just freak out because it looks like something they would buy at the store, or
Hmm.
up in the main studio where someone learns to center clay for the first time and just loses it.
Magical.
Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah, it's magical. So I think,
Confidence. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like instilling confidence in people. I agree. I love that. Yeah.
yeah, makes me happy. I mean, I like walking into work every single day simply because of that and the chance to meet new people.
Nice. Nice. You're definitely a people person,
What? You notice that?
which is great. All right, let's talk again about, if other clay studios are listening to this and maybe they are not familiar with PYOP or, how that even comes into it. What would you say? Do you think it's more of a profitability enhancement, or do you think it's more bridging the gap between clay and pottery painting?
Oh, it is a beautiful blend of all of those things. I will tell you that we struggle with diversity in the studio, right?
Sure.
There are Black and brown communities in Cincinnati that when I talk to them who have come into wheel throw, they're like,
Hmm.
I've never heard of this. This was not something talked about when I was growing up. This is not something we do for stress relief, that type of thing. And so you end up with a studio that is predominantly white, and we're trying to get all the voices in here. And pottery painting does such a good job of that because it's relatable and it's something that you see when you're driving around town, right? And so that it helps with diversity in the studio. It helps with that confidence level we talked about. It does have great profit margins when you do it right. So it is a nice thing to cushion the success of the studio. And there are certain times when a handmade project just does not work for the situation. It
Sure.
also helps with accessibility. We deal with some students who can't work with wet clay, whether it's a sensory issue or something like
Sure.
that, and
Hmm.
the pottery painting studio works for that. So I think every time I talk to someone who is designing a studio like ours, getting started, or they're growing fast and they want to
Hmm.
diversify the business, I suggest the pottery painting studio immediately because of how
Yeah.
much it has helped us in all of those realms. You want the pottery painting studio to look exactly like your city. Everyone's coming in, everyone's sharing, having a good time,
Yes.
young and old from every background. And I think that if you don't have a pottery painting studio and you only have these higher priced wheel throwing classes or special events, and it's a thing that even though we see lots of people coming in, it is still such a small portion of the
Not as
population
diverse.
that knows
Sure.
about it, right? And so you have to see the potential when you use a contemporary studio like that.
Yeah, well, let's dive a little bit more into that. So, a clay studio is hearing this and they're thinking, okay, what do I have to do? What do I need to get pottery painting into my studio? Like, how big of a space do they need? We talked about different kilns. You don't necessarily need a separate kiln. You could use the same kiln that you're doing your stoneware in,
Yeah.
correct? But what kind of footprint do you need in the clay studio? Like when you were designing, I know you guys moved 6 years ago to the bigger space. When you were trying to figure out where the PYOP was going to sit in your location, what were you looking for?
So with our previous studio, we had a larger paint your own space.
Okay.
And it was kind of funny. We had a huge pond in that room as well. It
Oh,
had a
wow.
waterfall, it had turtles, it had all this stuff,
The
right?
dream.
Yes. And we realized like we can't move all of that stuff to the new space, but obviously the pottery painting studio has to stay. And we decided that we wanted it to be a more intimate space and not feel
Mhm.
like the giant warehouse space that is
Sure.
our regular studio. So we went down to 1,000 square feet and felt really good about that. That gives us enough that we could run decent size events. I wanted to have seating for about 30 people successfully. I think that's a good workshop size and a good class size for special events. And so we realized that we could use a smaller space more effectively. And So and even that, it doesn't need to be that large. If you're just starting out, you set up a corner with 3 shelves full of
Sure.
selections, a good, like, fun, playful kid selection lower,
Mm.
and, some more adult work, and with your plates and bowls and pitchers and things up higher, and themed things for special events that you're going to do with your family, those like centerpiece things that
Sure.
your family can come in and work on. And so, you could start with a couple hundred pots on the shelves for selection and 4 tables, all with 4 chairs, and you've got it. That will be enough that you can have walk-ins. It will feel exclusive a little bit because they got to get there early to get a seat on some days, but it
Sure.
will get that business growing. And as soon as that happens, you'll realize, oh, I need more space. But
Yeah. I
you'll be
always
getting
need
the
more
profit
space.
to do it. And
Yeah.
the nice thing is, it's not really dirty. There's, you don't have the clay dust like you normally would
Mm.
in our main studio, and so it's easier to keep the place clean and organized. And so we do that with a small trap in one utility sink, and a couple of rolling carts with all the supplies and everything, our small glaze cart, and some shelves. And so it's not a hard setup, but it is so important for your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. Great. Any mistakes that you made early on that you want to share with us whenever you brought PYOP in 9 years ago?
So yes, we number one, we did not do the sampling correctly.
Oh, okay.
We had some artists make some samples that were insanely
Phenomenal.
complicated. They were beautiful, right? They were so cool. And you'd look at that and instantly go, oh, I can't do that, right? And it went
Mhm.
against what we're all about, like breaking down that fear and everything. And so
Yes.
getting a lot of relatable demo pots out there so that people can see
Mhm.
the options, and having, sample books with little descriptions of how to do this.
Sure.
It's truly a small teaching studio, and you might not have the staff to walk everyone through it, but having a 3-minute, here's how to get started spiel that you're good at, and then having several notebooks that walk you through different projects step by step, written down, that people can share. That's where we stumbled at the beginning. We didn't have that, and we weren't treating the pottery painting studio like the education center we were, right? And as soon as we thought of it from an education standpoint, it started to work really well.
Oh, that's a good mindset to think about educating people on how to do it. We just assume
Yeah,
they know when they walk in, but a lot of people don't know.
right. And the idea that you can blend glaze colors and get the cross color, or you can put black on a pot and then let it dry, put white on, and it'll stay white over the top. And,
Mhm.
those small things. We have a line of tiles along our glaze wall, and each one shows a different technique with a quick little description right on the glaze tile of
Oh,
how to do
nice.
it. And
Nice.
all of those things, when you get people to see, like, yeah, there's learning tools all around you, then it becomes even more fun. It's like a treasure hunt for them, and they are looking
Sure.
at everything. I think our next step is to actually do some QR codes down there, so they can go
Hmm.
to the glaze table, click on the QR code, and it'll be a quick
Sure.
instructional video for them. So
Yeah,
we're
that's
we're
nice.
messing around with that a little bit right now.
I love that. And primarily, is it poured pieces that you're buying already poured and boxed, or do you guys have stuff that's being made in the clay studio that you're bringing over for folks to choose off to paint as well?
Yeah, so it's mainly poured pieces, and but we do that second part as well. So John Steen, who is my events coordinator, who works with our co-op students and our resident
Oh,
students and all
he's
of that.
great.
Yeah, he is so fast at throwing, and when I sit down, I can crank out plates and bowls and cups too. And so when we need a break from administrative stuff, we'll say, all right, let's go back and just throw some pots for a
Go back
while.
to
And
our
those,
roots. What brought us
yep,
here, right?
yep, those go down to the pottery painting studio after they're bisque fired, and so people can choose a handmade piece if they want to.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a lovely addition. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
really
it's
like that.
fun. Well, and I think that a lot of your listeners, when you start a pottery painting place or you add one, you are going to get so many calls from people who say, "Oh, I just opened my grandma's garage and there's
Absolutely.
7,000 molds," right? And so we get those calls every week, and you can go in there and pick and choose some really fun ones. We found
Really
some
fun.
riverboat molds for, that were like
Wow.
the Cincinnati riverboats, that
That's
were
cool.
local. And
That's
so
really
every
cool.
once in a while, we'll grab some of those that we can pour ourselves and add to the
Hmm.
stock of the pottery painting studio. But yeah, those calls come a lot.
Absolutely. I think, yes, we all get those. And do you have seasonal things too? Do you bring in the big seasonal pieces like the Christmas trees, all that, or do you primarily just do everyday similar?
No, we definitely do the seasonal. And I think that those are the biggest sellers. Those
Mm.
Christmas trees. Oh
For
my
gold.
gosh. Yes. People get aggressive with the
Very
Christmas trees.
excited
So
about them.
yeah, we have people calling. So we'll start right at the beginning of November. You can
Okay.
call and reserve a Christmas tree, and you tell the size and everything. That gives us a leg up on ordering, so we know
Oh,
how many
smart.
to order. And
Hmm.
so we'll have a couple in stock from the previous year, but then we'll start selling from those reserve spaces. And I can't believe how many of those things we go through. I mean, they're cool, and they
Very
make some
cool.
beautiful pieces, and that's what people had in their house when they were little kids,
Hmm.
and they remember
And
it.
they tell you those stories you hear, oh, my grandmother had
Heck
these.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the
Yeah.
tree
And
stories.
we get some fun ones for Easter, all
Fun.
the Easter egg glazing and stuff
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
that. So yeah, there's some really good seasonal ones that we definitely want to have in. And come around
Yeah,
Super
super
Bowl
fun.
time and stuff like that, the food trays, those are always huge sellers. And that's what
Absolutely.
brings the guys in too, is then you
They want
start
those
seeing some
those
dads
chip
pop
and
in. They
dip
want the
platters.
tailgate
Yes,
things. Yep, you got it.
absolutely. Do you guys offer any customization, like lettering or finishing up for handprint art at your PYOP part of your studio?
So we want to get back to that. We had an artist, Lori Wright, who was doing that,
Hmm.
and she ended up going off on her own and doing her own art. And
Okay.
since then, we haven't brought that back.
Hmm.
Another big thing that we did was we would roll out different size slabs that were finished, and you could bring in your pet or your kid, and we would do the hand and footprints and paw prints
Fun.
and finish
Yes.
those in the pottery painting studio.
Hmm.
And the product was phenomenal. I mean, they were so good. And we did, like, all of the staff did that with our
I'm sure.
kids, but they take so much time, and losing
Sure.
Lori meant we just didn't have the time to set it with
Hmm.
any of the employees who jump back and forth between the main studio and the pottery painting studio. So that's something that we have a goal to get back to in the next few years. But
Hmm.
right now, it's off the table because of timing.
Sure. Yeah, that's a big bridge with standing, existing PYOP. That's kind of how we bring clay in. We start with the handprints and the footprints, and then
Yeah,
kind of look into, oh, maybe a hand building class here. Oh, let's maybe purchase some wheels. So it's funny to see as a clay studio, you were saying the same thing. It kind of bridges in between the PYOP and the clay part of your studio.
it does. And you figure out quickly with handmade clay slabs, how finicky the clay can be, and yet there's a nice learning curve there that'll
Yes.
hit you in the face a couple times. Yeah, when you
Yes.
get this beautiful product and then all the edges curl up, because you didn't take the
Hmm.
time to do it properly and stuff. So, I would say have patience with yourself when you're adding something like that, but it is a
Hmm.
huge value. I mean, people love them, and the product is so nice at the end.
Yeah. And sweet. I mean, they have those for generations.
When I was 37 years old, I made one for my mom, and it was
I
like
love it.
the baby footprint, but it
I
was my
love it.
footprint at that point. It was
You're her baby. Yeah,
gave her that for
absolutely.
Christmas. Yeah, she cracked up. She thought that was pretty good.
That's so fun. I bet she still has it. I bet she
Oh,
loves it.
heck yeah, she does. It's hanging in the kitchen.
Wonderful. And then the last question I have is pushback. Do you get any pushback from your serious artists about having the PYOP? Do you think there's much pushback from that?
uh No, the pushback we had in the beginning was mainly from the retail staff because it's popular and it gets busy. And when you have a delivery
Sure.
truck pulling up to the gate and you have to unload, you got 3 customers in line and 4 people show up for pottery painting, that gets hard. But we figured that out. But no, everyone in the studio, the professional artists, everybody, they see that as a beautiful resource, right? Because they can go down there and they can use those glazes and they can get some of those lessons as far as the layering. Because even as professional artists, they have their own thing, right? So a lot of these
Sure.
techniques might be new to them. And so they see it as just another tool in the toolbox that they can use to take their work to another level. So we've always saw it as a huge benefit. And the only stress is ever a great stress, which means you're busy and things are
Sure.
happening, you know?
Yeah.
And I think mainly with the retail staff, they're teachers, right? They want to take the time with every customer and explain,
Sure.
make sure that they feel comfortable with the products. And so when they don't get to do that, when they just have to like shuffle people, then it, you know, gives them a little tense feeling in their chest. And I
Sure.
try to avoid that at all costs. But that's the only tension that the pottery painting studio has ever caused in the main studio.
Yeah. Your staff is amazing. It just every single person I met was just welcoming and warm and just very generous with their time. It's such a, again, if you have never been to Queen City Clay, you have to go. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal visit. You will not regret it. It's like going to your favorite place in the whole world. And everybody's
Oh,
nice there. And there's dogs.
well, thanks for saying that. Yeah, the dogs are
Oh,
awesome. You know, they work really well. And the thing I would add with the talk is for those of you listeners who are thinking about adding a contemporary studio, or you have one and you're worried about expansion or something, I think everyone needs to understand that we are at the very beginning of a mental health rebirth, in that people are seeing clay and art as this wonderful way to help out just with mental clarity and with
agree.
dealing with
Hmm.
issues you might have
Absolutely.
had in the past. And so the staff has all been trained on the fact that when someone walks in, you have no idea what has happened to them in the past. And you need to assume that they've suffered some sort of trauma or something. And so that patience, that friendliness, that, you know, let's get you onto a project and get you to your happy space is important. And you will see growth in your business if you look at it that way and you see that you are not just this small little art studio doing this little niche thing. You are a really important part of your community and you are providing a service, and it's something that people can't get in a lot of other places. And so you might not feel like a therapist, but just you having that business there, you are doing that work. And it's really cool. And so just being a friendly person and having the business you do makes a mega difference in your community. And so that's why we all support each other. We try and, you know, figure out how
Yep.
all of us can succeed.
Yep.
And
Nope.
and
Yep.
and yep. So I appreciate you reaching out and letting us do this talk. But also, if anyone has questions for us at Queen City Clay, we are an open book, and you can come
Yeah.
visit. You can ask us questions, and we just want you all to succeed in your own communities.
Thanks for listening. I'm Des Toll from Biscuit Imports. And if you want dependable support and clean firing results, Kiln Core stilts are ready to go to work for you. Available now at biscuitimports.com. Stock up today and fire with confidence.
Feel like a juggler at your ceramic studio? Between classes, bookings, and admin tasks, those pins keep flying. Let Occasion help you put down the act and get back to creating. Visit occasion.act to discover your peace of mind.
No two studios look the same, and that's exactly why the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association exists. Whether your studio offers paint your own pottery, clay hand building, wheel throwing, glass fusion, or a mix of it all, CCSA is here to support you. From education and resources to community and industry advocacy, we help Fired Art Studios grow stronger businesses. Wherever you are on your studio journey, CCSA is here for you. Learn more at ccsaonline.com.
What's coming up next for Queen City? What I know, Ensika's gone. What are you like looking towards? What are you gaming towards?
Oh, we have in May, we have a Korean exchange going on. We have like 10 potters from South Korea coming, and they're all
Oh,
going to demo over a weekend. And you can see that
very
stuff on our
cool.
website. We also have a huge workshop called Reign of Fire with Mako,
Okay.
and so people can sign up, and it is a Thursday through Sunday workshop. You bring bisqueware, and you get to use all these different Mako products for free. And so they'll have hundreds of glazes there, and they'll have people showing you how to do all kinds of fun layering techniques, and we'll have professional artists demoing. And then you get to put your pots in every kiln we have, which is 30 kilns.
There's a lot of them. Yes.
Wood kilns and salt kilns and soda kilns and raku and low temp and high temp and everything. And you get to see what those Mako glazes do at all the different firing temperatures. So
That's cool.
Yeah, that's going to be the third week in June, and that's on our website too. So we got those big things, and then we'll settle into summer camps with all the kids.
Fun, awesome. Well, great. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today, Ben. It's always so nice to talk to you. And again, Queen City Clay, if you are into clay or you have a PYOP studio, you definitely want to take a little trip and go visit Ben and his dad, John, and his dog, John's dog. I forget John's dog's name, but it was sweet.
Tilly.
Tilly, that's right. It's such a great experience there. And we appreciate all your knowledge. And I just really loved your parting words about, we taking care of our community. And this is the next level of therapy, so to speak, for people.
You got it. It was so fun talking to you. Thank you so much for including me. I really appreciate it.
Glazed Over is brought to you by the CCSA, the Contemporary Ceramic Studios Association. Thank you to our moderators, Jessica Cowan and Vanessa Steele. Editing by Scott Lester. Executive production by Vicki DeWorth. Learn more about becoming a member at ccsaonline.com.